Hi, folks. Welcome to another episode of Tinnitist TV. Today I am talking with the one and only Waddy Wachtel. You might not have heard of Waddy Wachtel, but I guarantee you have heard Waddy Wachtel. For nearly half a century, he's been one of the busiest and most sought-after guitarists in the world. He's worked with everyone from Jackson Browne, Ronstadt and Randy Newman to the Rolling Stones, Ringo Starr, and Bob Dylan. He's been Stevie Nicks' musical director for decades. He co-wrote Werewolves of London with Warren Zevon. He's literally played on more songs and albums than even he can remember. He even had a bit part in the Poseidon Adventure. Basically, when it comes to rock and roll, Wachtel has been there and done that. These days, he's doing it with his new band, The Immediate Family, which features fellow VIP session cats Danny Kortchmar, Leland Sklar, Russ Kunkel, and Steve Postell. Despite that musical pedigree, however, their recent self-titled debut album is no fussy jam of studio rats. It's a flat-out rock and roll barn burner. A few days after this year's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremonies, Wachtel got on the Zoom to talk to me about the immediate family, his life, his career, and why you shouldn't call him the king of the sidemen. Here's how it went. Well, first of all, thanks so much for your time today. I know you're a busy man.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been crazy times. Crazy times these are. Yeah,
No
been
kidding.
busy.
Were you in Cleveland on the weekend?
No, Danny, Lee, and Russ were there.
Right,
Yeah.
I knew that. I didn't see you in any clips, but I thought maybe you were lurking around somewhere.
Yeah, it's funny. I heard from somebody said, "Oh, let's have I'll meet you there. We're gonna have a drink." I went, "What are you talking about?" They went, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I said, "Not me."
Really? Because you've
My
been there
brother
enough,
did.
I would think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I've done it several times. Yeah, have great times there.
Can
Yeah.
you enjoy yourself at things like that, or is it all kind of your mind's on the job and making sure everything goes right?
Well, but I enjoy that too. So, but yeah, I do. I mean, I've been included in the couple of times I've done it. I did it for the Linda Ronstadt tribute, which was a great thing. So that was wonderful. And Glenn Fry was there the last time I saw Glenn. Um, and then I did two of them in Cleveland.
Right.
One for the Everly Brothers, which was a fabulous night, and one for the Stones, which was an unbelievable night. So yeah, I had a good time at those events. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm not the first person to say this, but shouldn't you be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at this point, really?
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of guys that aren't in there yet that should be for sure.
Warren.
Warren for one, my dear friend who passed away, Eddie Money, should have had a little place in there by now, and Warren should be in there. Little Feat should be in there. I mean,
Oh man, yeah.
There's a lot of, so I don't know. I hope so. I hope I get there someday.
Yeah,
that'd
no
be
kidding.
nice. I mean, if they honor just the musicians, I think I got a fighting chance.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, King of the Sidemen. Come on, you got to have your own separate category at this point.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I hated that title. That was a mistake someone made. And
No,
hold on.
no worries. Well, why do you hate it?
Well, I'm no king of the sidemen. I came up in this town studying under a lot of guys. Working under a lot of guys who'd been here a lot longer than I have. And there are guys in this town working a lot more sessions than I did, much better players than me. So, I resented it. That film was supposed to really be about the band we had going every week, this little band at the joint, and all the rock and roll that we played and all the great guys that were in the band. I wanted it to be about all of us. That was the original concept of it. And then all of a sudden one day I was told, "Oh, it needs to be focused on you." And I went, "Huh? Why?" And they said, "Well, you have more of a track record and stuff." So I said, "Okay, I understand that." But then all of a sudden somebody came up with this and I saw this working title that was already in place. I went, "Hey man, I don't like that. I resent that."
Oh wow.
I'm one of a lot of guys who work very hard in this town. I'm no, I just resented it. I don't see myself that way.
Well, okay, fair enough. Well, talking about working with a lot of guys, obviously you've got the immediate family thing going now.
Yeah.
What made this the right time to do that? Was that just as a result of having downtime during the pandemic that this all came about, or were there other factors in play?
No, it actually all started before the pandemic.
Hmm.
Cooch had a solo offer from Japan to do an album, and I was on the road with Stevie Nicks, but Lee and Russ were in town, and Danny had been working with Steve Postell to getting this stuff pre-production wise ready. And Danny called me. I said, "Well, shit, I can't be there, but I can be there Sunday." So they booked 3 days, and they tracked what they tracked on the first 2 days. And like Postell said, when I got there, and when the three guitars made the noise we make with Lee and Russ, it sounded like a band. It sounded other than accompanying Danny on a solo project. It became this entity. And then when they asked Danny about touring, he says, "Well, look, I can't do it without you guys. I mean, this is us now playing. So why don't we become the band that we are, the band we've always really sort of been?"
Mm-hmm.
And we all said, "Yeah, why not? It's a good idea." And Danny right away came up with the thought of the name, because that's what we are. We've been doing this together for 50 years. I mean, Danny, Lee, and Russ have been together longer than I've been with them. A couple of more years. I met them about 3 or 4 years after they started doing what they do. So 50 years together, it was about time.
Yeah, no kidding. Where did the songs come from? Were they all things that you wrote new together, or was everybody bringing in pieces? Is it all
a combination of it was a combination of existing songs that each of us had, songs that were in embryonic form that we developed together, and some songs that we took, like for Steve Postell's couple of songs, we rewrote what he had. He was coming from a different place from us, a little more of a folk heritage lineage. So we kind of took it into a more rock and roll format with his songs, and like "Can't Stop Progress" was something Danny had started with Stanley Lynch, but they hadn't solidified all the music of it. And when Danny and I got together, I saw what I could bring to it, and we loved what we came up with. And "Divorced" was a song Danny had lyrics to, didn't really have the music down, but we got together, and within like 5 minutes, he and I were both playing exactly what you hear guitar-wise on that song. And so it came from all different stuff. I had a few of the songs I brought in on my own. One of the songs that I'd written for another project that didn't get off the ground, I said, I got this tune, and I played it for them, and they went, "Oh, that's great." So we did that one, and like that. "Things to Do in Denver" was a song I wrote with Warren and our friend Roy Marinell on Mr. Bad Example. But we tossed around playing it one time, and it was so much fun to play it on stage. We went, "Well, we got to do this. Let's record it. Let's record our version of it." So
it sounds like it came together really easy. Was it easier than you expected it to be?
Yeah, it was. I mean, but I didn't expect it to be hard either. Again, it's like Lee and I met first. Then I met Russell, and then I met Danny, and we've been playing together for so long. And Lee and Russ are one of the greatest rhythm sections you could have on any given day or any situation, period. Danny and I, we instantly knew how to play together when we met, and have lived that same way since then. I mean, he's always, where our sounds are different, where we play on the neck is a different thing. We always grab where the other guy isn't. And it's always been an easy meld for us. So that comes together easily. And then Postell, being a different kind of player, a finger picking guy, in between Danny and I with our picks in our hands, he would bridge that gap of where we're not. He'd add these environmental kind of sounds, or sounds that would exist to pull it all together and things like that. So that was my fear, is 3 guitars a lot of times can really be a nightmare.
It doesn't sound like it. But
no,
wasn't it interesting to be your own boss for a change and not have to sort of, So, I mean, how did you manage that? Because you guys have all spent decades, going in and I think, responding to what somebody needs, and obviously having your own input and stuff, but ultimately answering to somebody else. So now you're answering to yourselves. What's that like to do?
Well, it was something we've all been wanting to do, and it was a little challenging. And it's funny because a few people wanted to sit in and this and that, and we're going, you know what, nobody's sitting in. we're done with that. We're doing this because that's all we've done is back people up. So no, you can't sit in. You ain't sitting in. And no, we want to, it's our turn, So that was the impetus of it all. And that was the seed of the creation was.
Is the band a democracy?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah.
I mean, can you run a band as a democracy? Doesn't somebody have to be sort of a benevolent dictator?
We're all kind of a benevolent dictator though. So, and it's like I say, we know what we're doing. We've been doing this for so long, but in the studio, you got all these different opinions. Right. But the thing that matters the most is what it sounds like. You can go in the studio with a solid concept. You can go and I know exactly how this song should go, and don't play that, and don't play this. We need to do this. And then you hear it back and you go, okay, that was totally fucking completely wrong. And now I know what to do. And that's how we grew up. You go in the booth, you hear it back, and you go, okay, that part I'm playing is terrible. The drum part's good. The bass part's good. The guitar parts suck. So Danny, we got to think of something else. You know what I mean? Or the bass part ain't right. Or Russ, it doesn't feel. It feels a little too ballady. Let's try it with a backbeat instead of a cross stick. Things like that. But those things, the speakers are the boss, really. Right. So it makes it. That helps.
Yeah. And I was guessing that's a quality you get after decades of doing sessions is you're not, you're not married to anything that you've done, because it's all could be there, could be gone. You want something else, right? Well,
but again, you can be married to it all you want until you hear it back and you go, oh man, that's great. It's working. Or, all right, it's not working. Right. It's very simple. Then to find what does work sometimes is a little challenging, but no, we're pretty democratic about it. Everyone's opinion matters.
I think one of the things that, we're all equal, but some are more equal than others, right? I think some people would be surprised at how much this album rocks, because I mean, I think for a lot of people, they hear, oh, these 5 session guys went in to do an album. They think it's going to be jazzy and jammy and fussy and you guys trying to out solo each other, but this is just a balls out rock record for the most part.
Thank you.
Thanks. Was that very conscious of not wanting to make that kind of an album and very much wanting to make this kind of an album?
Definitely. Yeah, we're songwriters. We want to do an album of great songs with good playing on them, solos, but we're not a jam band. We don't sit around and play blues shuffles for 3 hours and everybody solos for a week. Right. We don't do that. I mean, and it's funny, we've been told that, you guys need to put more solos in the stuff, when things go by too quick. We're going, oh yeah, people want to hear us play. But we don't, I mean, we stretch out a little more live, but at the same time, we're not one of those stand there for half an hour waiting for the guitar solo to finish bands. We're very conscious about singing great songs, writing great songs, and hoping people will recognize them as such.
I think so.
That's the whole concept. Yeah. Do an album of great tunes.
Oh, yeah, and mission accomplished. So you're hitting the road now with this. So what are the shows going to be like? Is it obviously it's primarily going to be the album, but is it going to be like even on the album you've tacked on a couple of bonus live tracks that sort of reflect other things you guys have been involved in? Is that kind of what it's like?
Yeah, it does. We'll incorporate some of the hits that Danny's written. Dirty Laundry. All she wants to do is dance. For me, we do Werewolves of London. We might throw in, Lawyers, Guns, and Money. I didn't write that. I had a big part of it, but yeah, we call them our hits. We got to have the hits in there as well as the new tunes. And a lot of times that, you find when you're doing this a long time, you have new songs you're really excited about, and you get to a concert to play them, and people are going, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear the hits. I don't want to hear Mad Love. I want to hear Blue Bayou.
Sure. That's
you know.
normal. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you feel when you play those Warren songs now?
Well, I don't know. They're we've been doing lawyers quite a bunch. So
Right.
we've been doing that one a long time. So, for me, I'm like, enough of lawyers already. Whereas Johnny Strikes Up the Band, I've always been very partial to that. And as well, Johnny Strikes Up the Band, the record is Russ Kunkel. The record is Lee Sklar. The record is me. And Danny's in there too, playing shakers. And he was there, during the production of the making of the record. So Johnny has a little more of a sweeter spot in my heart to do.
Mhm.
And Werewolves is, my song as well as it is Warren's, so that's our big hit. So I'm proud to do that one.
Yeah,
And
well, as you should be.
yeah.
Talking about the heaviness of the music, the lyrics are also, there's a lot of death and destruction and foreboding and collapse on this album. It's kind of dark in a lot of spots,
It is, yeah, but there's some beautiful moments too. I mean, again, Danny is the most prolific writer of the bunch, and he's an extraordinary lyric writer, I find. And even though Can't Stop Progress might be dark, I'm Not Made That Way is a beautiful, positive song. And Thing of the Past is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. I think that's incredible. And lyrically, just brilliant. So, my song Fair Warning is a little foreboding. I think you're talking about that one. A little kind of a nasty piece of little warning kind of thing. And Steve's tune, yeah, there's some darkness there. Yeah. It's just song by song. You know what I mean? There was no, we have to fit all these into this certain approach. It's just that one works. That one works. It's a matter of that. Does it work?
Yeah. Best idea wins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I find it hilarious and quite wonderful that you turned down people who wanted to sit in.
Yeah, we had to because otherwise we're there. We are the backup band again.
But I would think somewhere there's a guy in an office with a cigar going, "What? How dare you turn down so and so? We could have, could have had a single, could have had a bigger single,
Yeah. Well, Danny had on his solo album, he had Jackson sang with him, Mike McDonald sang with him, Dave Crosby sang with him, James sang with him on that Danny's Japanese solo album. And that's all well and good. But, quite honestly, when we were doing the song Machine Gun Kelly off of Danny's solo album, and I was on the road with Stevie, and I was like, had my laptop, the same laptop I'm talking to you on, and I had the songs, and I was doing my overdubs on the road and sending them to them. I was doing vocal parts and stuff like that, and arranging things and sending them in. And when we worked up Machine Gun Kelly, and I put a lot of good vocal on it and stuff, and then they wanted James on it, and I'm going, yeah, but why don't it should be just us, but they want James, and I love James to death, and they want that star power on a record.
Yeah.
But shouldn't it just be us now? Enough of that. Let's go. Come on. And we all agreed on for the immediate family.
Yeah.
That's it.
Perfect. So
I'm sure if there are a couple of different people would want to sit in, it would be hard to say no.
Okay.
No names.
I think we can guess at a couple of them.
Yeah.
You've been doing this now for a long, long time. Was this the path that you thought your career was going to take, or was there a point at which you realized that this was the best way forward for you in terms of being a sideman, session guy, backup player?
Yeah, that came after moving out to California with a band and watching my manager, who was a fucking asshole, destroy every deal we got, and then watching what it takes to be a band and seeing how much luck we weren't having. And in that time, I met some studio players and the studio musicians, and I always thought about that. I grew up playing guitar. The concept of being in a band when I was a child was not in my mind. I just wanted to learn the instrument. So having a solid knowledge of the instrument and coming out here and meeting guys who make records, I started thinking, gee, I could do that. I think I could do that. And I could do that. I could put up with that a lot more than I can put up with these 4 other people I'm trying to fucking rationalize with and get somewhere with every day, and it's becoming a problem. I want to do that. I decided, I said, I want to do that. I want to become a studio player. I want to become a studio musician. And the timing was right. And the situation out here was right for me to be able to get my foot in the door and get started. It was, due to a good friend of mine, actually Roy Marinell, who wrote Werewolves with us. He was the one who I had started doing some sessions, but he's turned me on to a great producer named Nick Vinay, who's long dead now. And Nick produced Linda's first Stone Ponies album. Right. And Nick also produced the first Beach Boys album, Frank Sinatra, Bobby Darin, things like that. And I played for him and he really liked me. So I started working for him a lot. And then eventually one day he said, it was funny because I thought he was firing me. He goes, Waddy, it's time for you to move on. I went, what did I do? What's wrong? What's the matter? He goes, no, man. He says, it's time for you to move on. He says, we're doing we're doing a lot of folk records and stuff that wasn't going to go anywhere. And he goes, you're better than what we're doing here. And you need to get into these other circles in this town. So he invited, David Foster was the brand new guy in town at that day, new piano player in town. And he says, I'm inviting this guy named Dave Foster over tomorrow night to hear you play. I've invited him to play on the session, but it's basically, I want him to hear you play. So bring your slide, bring your electric. I was just doing a lot of acoustic stuff for this guy. Bring your electric. I want him to hear you play lead, slide, everything. So I did. And a couple of days later, I got hired by Lou Adler for the first time. I'd been working for, smaller version producers all around town, but no big projects yet. And I get this call from Lou Adler's office. And I walk in and it's Lee and it's Russ. Yeah. And I've met them both before. And there's Cooch. And that's the first time he and I met. And we loved each other right away. And Lee and Russ and I were already tight. So there was the immediate family was there, right? That day at A&M Studios for a Tim Curry record. That was the first time this band played together.
Wow.
And from that, I went from that working with them, working for Carole King. And then Peter Asher saw me playing with that group and called me and wanted me to work for Linda and James and J.D. Souther. And then everything, the ball started rolling like crazy then. We were working 2 or 3 sessions a day, every day.
So how much of all of that stuff, I mean, you've played on so many, records that are so familiar to so many people. How much of that stuff do you actually retain in your head? In terms of if I woke you up in a dead sleep and put a guitar in your hand and said, play I Love LA, can you just launch right into it?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, some of the songs you get to play that I've gotten to play on are so memorable. But I mean, there are people, people will say, you know that album you played on? I'm going, I don't know what you're talking about. I hate saying that. And then they'll play it for me. Oh my God, yeah, right. Now I remember. As soon as you hear, again, it's that thing with the speakers, If I don't remember something, if someone says something to me and I remember, if I hear it, if I hear a music that I'm involved in, I'll know it right away. It's like someone sent me a song that I've worked on for Elton John. And they said, your solo on it's great. I said, I soloed for Elton John. I remember that. And then they played it. Oh yeah, that's right. I did. I remember it totally. I remember everything about it. So yeah. I Love LA. Yeah, I could play that for you. Yeah.
So your mind is just like, I don't know, one giant jukebox. Is that a fair description?
It's like I said to my dear brother, Steve Jordan, who is now playing for the Glimmers. Our job, it's like one big gig. It never stops. Even when you're not working, you're in it. Your mind is in it. It's like one job that just never ends. You don't have I got a session here today, then I'm off tomorrow, but I'll be home working on music. Then I'll be in a session. I got 2 sessions the next day. Hold on, I gotta shut that down. Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean? It's like one big continuous memory bank going.
Yes.
And if, I'm watching TV, I'm thinking of some song, I wake up every day, I get some song in my head. And I'm like a parrot, it's not even, sometimes I'll say, I don't get me wrong, I don't even like this song, but I can't stop singing it for some reason. It's always a tune in my head or a lyric or something. It just never ends, which I'm
So do you have no other interests or hobbies aside from music?
not really. Yeah.
Oh, it's 24/7, 365 for you,
Pretty
basically?
much so, yeah. Pretty much. I mean, it's always, when I was growing up, my father, he fought me about wanting to play guitar. I wanted to play, I was very young. And I was till 9. When I was 9 years old, he finally gave in and got me a guitar. And he said, well, but you got to have music, the music should just be your hobby. I mean, you gotta be a doctor, be a lawyer, a doctor or something, have a real job. I said, Dad, this is my hobby. This is my job. This is it. This is all I want to do. So
Did he ever see the light?
he did. Yeah, he did. He was really upset about me. I was not a good student. I mean, I was a good student, but I didn't care about it. So therefore I would not get great grades sometimes. But I said to him, look, I got to move to California. And that's what's happening. I got to go. And he goes, all right. He says, Bobby, you, for some reason, you have a head on your shoulders that I don't understand, but I know you seem to know what you want to do. So, go on. And then I came out here and got working. And by the time I saw him again, I came back to New York. I was playing with Linda, and I said, I'm going to retire you now. Everything's fine, Dad. You can move to Florida, Jewish New York boy's dream, moved your parents to Florida. He wanted to go to Florida, so I moved him down, took care of it. Yeah, he finally was very proud.
And then does anybody call you Bob?
My wife does, my brother does.
I didn't even know I didn't even know you were married. Like you keep your private life very private.
I hope so. Yeah, I
That's
try.
that's not an accident.
No, I
Okay.
try to keep it private. We're married 33 years.
No kidding. Do you have
Yeah.
kids?
No, I don't. We don't have kids. My wife has a gorgeous daughter who has our incredible granddaughter,
Oh,
who is
wow.
like one of the top athletes in the country. This girl, Sadie Engelhart, look her name up.
Okay.
She's this 15-year-old genius running star,
Wow.
track star. She's brilliant, amazing. So I lucked into that one. But we don't have kids of our own. No, I'm not a dad.
Okay. So aside from all the artists you've worked with, is there anybody that you haven't worked with that you'd like to still?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Like who?
Paul McCartney. I never met him. I've worked with Ringo. I never got to meet George. I met John once. Never met Paul. I'd love to play for him. I got to play for Bob Dylan. I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah.
We've been so fortunate, and it's more amazing to me than it is to someone looking at it. You know what I mean? I came out of Jackson Heights, New York with a pick in my hand.
Uh-huh.
I'm sitting here in my own house. My wife, Annie, married me 33 years. We got a really nice place to live. I still got that same pick in my hand. It's the same thing, it's like, how did this all happen from that?
And you've still got the same hair.
Yeah, the same area. I do.
There, for a while, I thought that the whole Poseidon Adventure thing was maybe some sort of an urban legend. And then I went back and looked at the clip and went, oh, yeah, you can see you right there. It's like you're unmistakable.
It's real, all right. It's funny. That came from, I was just on the session. It was the first, first movie date that I'd been on. And I hadn't been on a sound stage. There was a full orchestra there. There was this core rhythm section that I was part of. And there was a guy named Art Munson, who was like one of the top guitar players in town. I was this new green pepper in the batch. Young punk, little nothing, And we go to do this thing, and that song, Morning After, we did a instrumental version of the main title song. And and the conductor, Lionel Newman, by the way, Randy's uncle,
right,
not the sweetest guy in the world. He says, one of the guitarists play the melody. So I instantly bowed down to this guy, Art, because he's the experienced guy. I said, well, that'll be you, man, for sure. You know, you. And then this voice goes, who's Waddy? I went, me. He goes, you play the melody. Because Michael Omartian, if you know that name, Michael Omartian is a brilliant pianist, great, great composer. He was the guy I knew on this date, and he was in the band that we were that formed the rhythm section. So Omartian said to him, have Waddy play melody. He plays a really good melody, you know. So have Waddy do it. I went, oh, okay. So I'm looking at this chart. I can read that. Yeah, fine, okay. And literally it went like this. It was written, say it was written in B flat, okay? And there's, like I said, there's a room full of musicians. And Lionel Newman standing there, he goes, okay, here we go. Okay, 1, 2, in A flat, 3, 4, and I went, what? I panicked, I completely froze. I got like maybe 3 or 4 notes out and fell apart, you know, and he goes, what the hell's happening here? What's going on? I went, okay. Here we go again, let's go. Quick, let's go. I'm looking at this chart. I'm trying to transpose this sight reading. I got about maybe 6, 7, 8 notes in, destroyed again. He goes, what the hell? He says, we're not going to get lunch at this rate. I said, why don't you take lunch now? Fortunately, having a little New York left in me, you know, just gotten there. Why don't you take lunch now, man? He goes, good idea. So they broke for lunch. I learned the tune in A flat. And when we came back, we did it no problem. But, you know, I was frightened to death of that. I can't remember what you asked me now, but.
Oh, I was just talking about you being in the movie, and I guess it was just a day of doing one of these, right?
Oh, the director. Yeah, right. Well, no, they did that with the camera. We didn't have to do any of that.
Oh, okay.
But, the director, all of a sudden, I didn't know who this guy was. He's walking around the floor and he's looking at us and he goes, him, and him in the movie. I went, what? What? In the movie? He said, yeah, you're going to be in the movie. You're going to be at Paramount for the next 2 weeks. What? I'm playing with the Everly Brothers. What are you talking about? You know, I got a job. I'm going to be in a movie? All right, great. So down there for 2 weeks, do the filming. Ronald Neame was his name, I think. There was the director. Shelley Winters, you know, this huge ballroom scene. There's the band, Carol Lindley in the band. Yeah. And we're there for 2 weeks on the set. And then I was back out on the road with the Everlys, and I got a call from the movie company saying, we need you here tomorrow. I went, I'm in like Greensboro, North Carolina. You know, I ain't coming. What do you yeah, there's a scene where you're in the scene. We wrote you into the scene. I went, oh man, I can't do it. I'm sorry, I can't do it. So that's the end of my movie career.
Could have been in the sequel, man.
Yeah, I maybe so. Yeah, right. But I'll tell you a funny after effect of being in that movie. Gene Hackman was in that movie. So cut to when we're doing Keith's first solo album, Talk is Cheap. And I'm in this hotel in New York, the Mayflower Hotel. And we worked at night. You know, about 7 o'clock at night, I'd head to the studio. So, and I, you know, get in the elevator. There's Gene Hackman is in the elevator. And he's big, you know, he's a big guy. I'm looking up at this guy, and it's just him and me in this elevator. And I went, well, Mr. Hackman, you might find this strange, but we've worked together. And he just looks at me, he goes, oh, really? You and I have worked together, huh? Where did we work together? And I said, I was in the band in the Poseidon Adventure. You know, I had the big beard in the movie too, so I looked a little different, but I was in the band in the Poseidon. He goes, oh yeah, that's right. I recognize you now. He shook my hand. He goes, how are you, man? I said, yeah, I'm good. Working with Keith Richards here. And it was great though. It was like, yeah, how did we work together? It was so great. You know, like, oh, sure.
Yeah, but hey, you worked with everybody else, so Gene
Yeah, right.
Hackman had to come along at some point, right?
And then, if not on an album, at least in a movie. Yeah.
All right, sir. Well, listen, that's all I got for you. I think I've taken up enough of your time today. It was a sincere pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks, Daryl. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you somewhere down the road, and then best of luck with the immediate family, and take care.
Take good care. Thank you. Bye-bye.